Wind howls across snow. Bells jingle once. A distant guttural growl echoes through the trees. Winter has teeth. Not the soft winter of snow globes and postcard towns. Not the warm glow of fireplaces and soft carols drifting through the air. No, I'm talking about a winter where the mountains blot out the moon and the forests grow so dark that even hunters refuse to cross them. A winter where the ice groans beneath your boots and the wind carries voices you hope are only the wind. A winter so old and so deep that it remembers things humans have forgotten. And in those ancient alpine villages where the nights are endlessly long and the mountains press in like giants, the people knew winter was not empty. It had a face, it had a form, it had horns, and it had a name, Krampus. I'm Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. And on this episode, we're stepping out of the October shadows and once again into the December darkness. Now, I know we discussed this topic back in episode 66, but it was worth revisiting, especially on this specific day, December 1st. We are headed into a world where the line between celebration and terror is thin enough to vanish entirely, where snow-covered streets host parades of demons, where children hide behind shutters, where St. Nicholas walks the night and something follows him. This is the story of Krampus, the horned demon of Alpine folklore, and the fearsome festival known as Krampusnacht, the night of the Krampus. But this isn't a Christmas story, not really. It's a story older than Christmas, older than Christianity, older than the villages nestled in those jagged mountains. Winter in the ancient world was dangerous. Winter was a hunter, and the people who survived it did so by creating monsters powerful enough to explain the terror and rituals powerful enough to tame it. And Krampus was one of those monsters. All right, the journey we're going to take on this episode will take us across snow-covered Austria, Bavaria, and Tyrol, down into the valleys where wooden masks stare with hollow eyes, into the roaring fires of December festivals, and into the psychological landscape of winter fear. Because Krampus is more than a holiday demon. He is winter itself. And winter always comes with a price. And if you're a wrestling fan, that just automatically brings up the $1 Million Man to me. But that's a completely different topic. So picture this. It's the night of December 5th. The air is painfully cold. The kind of cold that bites at any exposed skin. The mountains around the village rise like dark walls. Every window is glowing with candlelight. And inside, children will whisper stories that they've heard since their earliest days. Stories about this night. The adults will move with a quiet ritual tension, making sure the doors are locked, the candles are lit, and the fire doesn't burn too low. Because tonight is Krampusnacht, the night that the Krampus walks. And if you listen closely, you might hear them before you see them. The clanging of cowbells, the sharp snap of birch rods, the thud of heavy boots moving in unsteady rhythms, and the unmistakable rattle of chains. Sounds like a horror movie, right? Then, emerging from the swirling snow, they will appear. Not one, not two, but dozens. These are figures that are towering 7, 8, and sometimes 9 feet tall. Their horns are spiraling like twisted tree roots, fur hanging thick from their bodies, masks carved from wood, each one unique, snarling, skeletal, gaping, fanged, and demonic. These are Krampus, the plural of Krampus, the modern descendants of a creature far older than the Christian saint who now walks beside him. Children will scream, adults will laugh nervously, and the procession marches past, half theater, half terror, half ancient ritual. You can't have three halves, though. So a third, I guess. A third theater, a third terror, a third ancient ritual. But to understand Krampus, you have to understand the winter that birthed him. Long before Christianity, the Alpine world was governed by seasons of abundance and seasons of death. Winter wasn't decoration, it was devastation. If the harvest failed, the winter killed. If the livestock were sick, the winter killed. If the snow came early, the winter killed. The winter was simply a predator, and predators inspire mythology. The ancient peoples of the Alps saw winter as a darkness that had to be held back by ritual, fire, masks, and masquerades. They believed in spirits of the mountains, forests, and caves, creatures with horns, fur, and wilderness in their eyes. They believed some spirits wandered during the darkest nights of the year, nights now tied to Yule, Christmas, and the turning of the year. Krampus, in many ways, is a surviving remnant of these older spirits. The Skikperkten. Now, I warn you guys every episode, I'm going to butcher some word that I don't know how to say. But the Skikperkten, I think that's right. These Skikperkten, wild demons of winter night. When Christianity spread through the region, it didn't replace these figures. Instead, it absorbed them, pairing the saintly figure of St. Nicholas with the darker force of Krampus, a holy man and a horned demon, reward and punishment, light and shadow, yin and yang, a balance as old as winter itself. So on December 6th, St. Nicholas would reward good children, and on December 5th, Krampus would punish the bad ones. Stuff them in a sack, give them sticks, beat them, all kinds of stuff. If you haven't checked out some of the old pictures and imagery of Krampus back in the day, it's pretty nuts. This punishment in ancient folklore wasn't a gentle slap on the wrist. Krampus carried chains, representing binding forces of the church. He carried birch rods, which were tools of discipline. And in older tales, he carried sacks or baskets. And like I said just a minute ago, this was to put children in. And this wasn't merely metaphor, it was a psychological warning. You better behave or winter will take you. What a damning prospect, right? And winter always demanded something. Yet for all its darkness, Krampusnacht is not a night of cruelty. It is a night of catharsis. When masked performers, usually young men from the village, put on the fursuits and carved masks, they are not just playing monsters. They are channeling something older, something communal, something that allows fear to be expressed and confronted and released. And this is the heart of Alpine winter ritual. If the people cannot defeat winter, they must dance with it. The roaring processions, the clanging bells meant to chase away evil spirits, the leaping dances known as Krampusnacht, all these are survival rituals. They transform winter fear into performance, into celebration, into social tradition. And there's something beautiful and terrifying about watching a line of horned demons march through a mountain village, their breath steaming in the icy air, their bells echoing off the snowy peaks. It's easy to imagine that in some distant century, these weren't performers. They were spirits. They were real spirits, real ones. Because the masks, which are hand-carved from wood, they're not cartoonish. These are works of art passed down through generations. some crafted by artisans who see mask making as a spiritual responsibility. And each mask is different. Some have goat horns, some have boar tusks, some look skeletal, others look demonic, and they all look impossibly alive. Krampus, unlike modern monsters, isn't meant to be sleek or cute. He is meant to terrify. Not maliciously, however, but meaningfully. Because in the Alpine world, fear was a teacher. And this is what makes Krampus so unique among winter figures. Santa Claus will reward you. Saint Nicholas will bless you. Father Christmas will bring you joy, right? All very good things. But Krampus is there to warn you. He is the reminder that nature has a shadow, that winter has rules, that behavior has consequences, and that even in the season of light, darkness walks with us. But here's the twist that only folklore will reveal. Krampus is not the villain. He's not the bad guy. He is the boundary. He is the line that keeps the world in balance. He is fear as ritual, but not as cruelty. So he brings that balance that's needed, right? Without darkness, light loses all its meaning. Without winter, you can't have spring. Spring will not come back if there's no winter. And without Krampus, there is no lesson, there's no cautionary tale, there's no catharsis. So in many ways, Krampus is a guardian. He is the monster that protects by frightening you. He is the demon that keeps order through chaos. He is the winter spirit who ensures the world doesn't fall into moral or seasonal disorder. And this duality, holy man and demon, him and, his companion, has existed since the earliest pairings of St. Nicholas and Krampus in medieval illustrations. So this is going back centuries, right? And even today, that tradition continues. Krampus runs through the street. Children will hide and peek and try to see him. Adults drink mulled wine and laugh nervously. Fires will burn in the darkness. Cowbells shake like thunder. Snow will fall hard, muffling everything except the deep, resonant growl of the mask wearers. This mixture of fear and celebration creates an atmosphere that is unlike anything else in the world. Krampusnacht is not Halloween, but in its bones, in its ritual, in its dance with the darkness, it is a very distant winter cousin of Halloween. Many of these holidays we talk about and things that have gone on for centuries, very relatable. Both holidays share ancient fears and ancient hopes. Both are built around thresholds between the worlds, and both let humans confront monsters safely. But most importantly, both remind us that darkness is not to be ignored, but understood. And tonight, Krampus reminds us that winter is not harmless. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful winter, but it has always carried something ancient behind its frozen mask. A monster with horns, a warning with teeth, a guardian made of fur and shadow. Krampus is winter, the wild, dark, untamed winter of the old world. And the people who celebrate him know that monsters, once they're named, lose their power to destroy and gain the power to protect. Don't forget the importance of storytelling and passing on these traditions and all of this stuff that I talk about all the time. The reason I want to share it with everyone is not only is it fun for me, but it's, history that needs to be repeated. It's history that needs to be told. It's the storytelling tradition that I talk about all the time. These are the things that are most important, is remembering the past so you can propel it forward into the future and not forget about it. So that was a very brief history of Krampus. I hope anyone that I know, I talked before on the social media pages about people that celebrate and have been able to see some of the celebrations overseas. I've found some images that are just beautiful of like fires and in the processions and all the people dressed up. And it's amazing that this still goes on. And I really hope I get to see it in person myself one day. Speaking of that, don't forget that you can show your support for the show with simply a $1 donation. I have links up on the show description. I have links on the website. I have links on social media. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for any donation or any support you give to me. It's wonderful. I really want to put more time and effort and just concentration on this whole Preserve Halloween thing that I've started, the Halloween Preservation Society. I want to put so much more time into it, and I really wish I could do it, full time. And that's where you come in. If you can, drop me $1, drop me whatever you think that it's worth, and I'm going to put more into this. I want to start traveling some more, going to places that I talk about, all for the beauty of this podcast and for, preserving all this history, because that's really the bottom line, is keeping this stuff alive. So that's my pitch. Before we leave, I have another book list for you. Now, some of these books I probably have talked about before, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. First one up, Krampus the Yule Lord by Brom. There's a folkloric and a modern interpretation. There's a book called The Krampus and the Old Dark Christmas by Ridenour. There is a book called The Dark Side of Christmas by Peter Haining. There is a book by various authors called Krampusnacht, The 12 Nights of Krampus. I think I've talked about this book before, by Russell and Alexander. I need to get a copy of this because I keep seeing it everywhere. It's European Witchcraft and Demonology. That is Russell and Alexander. The Wild Hunt, History and Lore by Ronald Hutton. Superstitions of the Highlands and Islands of Scotland by John Gregorson Campbell. I think I actually own that book. Yule and Winter Traditions of the Old World by D. Armitage. The Masks of Europe by J.F. Thallon. And last but not least, Monsters of the Winter Dark by A.G. Parsons. Now, I will put this list up on the website, or on the, sorry, not the website, on the show description. It'll be in there. So you can see the list for yourself and kind of look them up and see which ones interest you. So, until next time, stay strange, stay curious, stay spooky, and always preserve Halloween.